I'm a god boy.
Warning, Podcastrophe imminent. This is Podcastrophe with Nick and Tyler, and we're coming at you with a fistful of heritage on a podcast where anything goes and there are no safe spaces. This is Podcastrophe.
Hello and welcome to Game Addicts.
Special episode of Game
Yeah. We are Dick and Tyler from over at Podcastrophe and Podcast Menace. Well, Tyler is.
That's me.
Tyler's on Podcast Menace, but yeah, we're taking over today because we've been fucking balls dick deep in fucking God of War.
Yes,
And,
we have.
It took me about a week to beat it. It took you
Less than that.
way less than that because you went right into it. I took a couple days to play Monster Hunter too, but
I focus on one thing at a time.
I typically do, but I just wanted to the Cole of Teroth siege thing was happening, so I didn't want to quite miss out on that.
I've abandoned Monster Hunter for
I have not.
God of War.
But yeah, I just had this craving to play it. But no, I went ahead. So to start things off, I had God of War pre-ordered a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just canceled it. I'm like, I'll put that money towards something else, and I'll pre-order something else. I'll pre-order God of War later. So it comes to like literally the day before, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't have enough money to like straight up buy the game outright, but I want to play it right now. So I did the typical Blaine thing. I threw it on my Best Buy card.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that, Blaine.
It is what it is. And so I went to Best Buy. I was going to go pre-order it and then go cancel my pre-order at GameStop. And I go over to Best Buy, and I'm like, hey, I'd like to pre-order the new God of War. And the lady at the cash register tells me, isn't that out today? No, it's out tomorrow. I say to her. She goes, oh, well, I don't think we can do that. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do that? Like, it comes out tomorrow. She's like, well, I don't think we stop pre-orders like the day before. And I'm like, I've never heard of this, but okay. She goes, let me check. So she calls somebody, and they then confirm, yes, they stopped pre-orders. I'm like, well, that was a ginormous waste of time walking around looking for somebody to help me pre-order.
When normally they hunt you down.
Yeah, normally they hunt me down, but whenever I need something and I'm like looking all like, boy, I sure could use my body language says, hey, I need help. Why can't they just read what I'm trying to say? Like, with my body language.
They're lizard creatures in meat suits.
But they say, so I finally just said, fuck it, and go up to a cash register and ask. And this is what I got. So I'm like, that was a ginormous waste of time. So I'm pissed off. I run home. And I get online. I get on Best Buy's website. And what can I fucking pre-order? God of War.
Did you pick in-store pickup?
Yes.
Just to fuck with them?
I did. And you know what? I mentioned that. As soon as I got there, I was like, yeah, you guys told me I couldn't pre-order it, but I went home and pre-ordered it anyways. And lo and behold, I'm here. That's cool.
What was your response?
Huh?
What was their response?
They're like, well, I mean, you got it. Cool.
Dickheads.
Yeah, like, I was like, yeah, you guys told me you guys weren't taking any pre-orders, but I went ahead and pre-ordered anyways, and now I'm here.
Anything that is written can be unwritten.
Yeah, it was stupid. So I'm just like, okay, cool. But I got the collector's edition. Oh fuck, I don't have the steelbook in here with me.
You do have the statue, though.
I do have the statue though, and it is badass. Ugh.
It's a hefty one.
It is. The God of War ones usually are. I got this bad boy showing up to the live feed. Oh yeah, it's a picture of older Kratos.
Does it light up?
No,
Damn it.
it's just your standard but it's older Kratos with his Leviathan axe chopping off
A Hellwalker's
a
head.
Hellwalker's head, and his son Atreus shooting an arrow through a Draugr.
Well, that's also a Hellwalker, but while riding him like a surfboard.
Yes, and it's pretty sick. It's pretty dope. But yeah, this I immediately popped in the PS4, threw on the headphones. My PS4 wasn't here in my studio room, and so I was playing on my monitor and threw on the headphones because I knew as soon as Andy was home, he would immediately start talking to me.
Hey, bro.
And I was like, I wasn't having it. I didn't want to have any distractions, so I threw on the headphones where I can't hear shit out of in the outside world. And sure enough, like an hour into me playing it, he comes in, pops in. I know he says something to me because I can just tell. Like I can feel sound waves hitting me.
Are you echolocating?
And
like
then
the
he just
creatures in A
he
Quiet
stands
Place?
here for a minute, and I am focused on this game. I am not removing my attention from it. So he goes over here, starts playing Monster Hunter or something, and I could tell every now and then he's asking me questions, but because I can just see his out of the corner of my eye, him like look over here and I'm not having it. Like, what part of I have
That's
headphones
why you
in?
play in there on the 60-inch
I moved it in there.
TV.
I moved it in there. Don't worry. Actually, I moved it in there like a day or two after that. But I was like, what part of I have headphones on? Like they're completely covering my ears. For the live feed, I will demonstrate with the headphones I was using. These, see, completely covers my ears. I can barely hear myself talking right now. Yeah. But what part of that says, hey, talk to me?
All of it.
So, yeah. So right off the bat, this game, it's good. We're not in spoiler mode right now.
Well, I want to, before we start talking about a few things, I want to throw some stats and some facts
please.
and some stuff out. So God of War 3, the last entry in the franchise, was released March 16th of 2010. So, 8 years ago. During its time, in initial circulation, it is the ninth best-selling PlayStation 3 game of all time. So, God of War obviously has a large following. It has kept, up until PlayStation 4, it kept a lot of fans with Sony's console. And
Kratos himself became an iconic character right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the face of PlayStation 2 for quite a while.
Yep.
Like,
between Kratos and Final Fantasy, that was kind of
or Ratchet and Clank. They were pretty good in terms of like the
Jak and Daxter,
Ratchet and Clank. They all have these face and on the Mount Rushmore of PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like they all have their place.
So God of War 3, just a couple of awards that it won. It was the most anticipated game of 2010, best PS3 game at the 2009 and 2010 Video Game Awards, the Artistic Achievement Award at the 2011 British Academy of Film and Television Arts, so that they do everything together, not just video games separate. So it won a lot of awards. It sold 5.2 million copies worldwide by June 2012. So the last entry in this franchise was a blockbuster, and then they remastered it for PlayStation 4. It sold a shit ton of copies there.
Yes, I have it.
I didn't buy it, but after God of War 3, it was kind of the end of Kratos' story. They left it open-ended, but
They did.
But that,
However, we did get a prequel.
right?
We got Ascension, which looked absolutely beautiful. Gameplay, it was the same thing. It was the same God of War. I mean, with a couple tweaks to the Blades of Chaos and whatnot. You had elemental Blades of Chaos rather than switching weapons, and you had your special items and whatnot. And the story itself was actually pretty cool, but it wasn't very dialogue heavy. it wasn't very full. The story, the plot needed more like delivery rather than the plot itself was cool. Going after the Furies so you can escape your oath to Ares. But overall, that game was eh. They had to release a patch because one of the end game, I think it was the Trial of Archimedes or something like that, is what it was called. It was some trial, and it was too hard. They had to patch it because it was too hard, and it was still very, very difficult after the patch, but it is manageable at least.
Right. So the point that I'm trying to make is the last main entry in the franchise, the capstone of Kratos' story was done.
Yes.
You know, you had the kind of open-ended send-off where, is Kratos dead? Is he not really dead? Do we really know? What the fuck's Athena doing? She's a ghost. Zeus is dead.
But he's a ghost.
So what the fuck is happening, you know? And I think with a lot of fans, including myself, thought, well, this is, you know, kind of the end of an era. We're done with Kratos. And here we are. Not God of War 4. Not God of War some bullshit title add-on. It's God of War. So it's almost a rebrand or a rebirth into the franchise. And it's fucking Norse mythology. We've fucking devastated the Greek pantheon.
Yeah.
Kratos is the only one
save for
left.
Aphrodite and Hephaestus. And there might be a few others, but
Wait, I thought Kratos killed Hephaestus.
Did he?
Yes.
Yes, he did. Yeah, because he turns on you.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Big, giant, goofy-looking motherfucker.
Yeah. The guy who voiced him is a pretty good actor, though.
Right. So we start off Kratos' story, and you know, through the trailers that we've gotten, obviously we knew what the setting was. It's Norse mythology. We've all kind of gathered that Kratos must have left Greece and went to fucking Denmark or Sweden or Norway,
somewhere up there,
and was trying to escape his past, like Kratos always is. That is one thing that you cannot take away from this character. Through his entire story, he has been trying to put his past behind him. Whether that's the stuff that happened in the prequel trilogy, trying to break his oaths, or the fact that he killed his fucking, or not prequel trilogy, but prequel game, or the fact that he fucking killed his wife and his child, and now he has their ashes permanently attached to his skin. And then he fucking kills everyone.
in a fit of rage.
And it's always rage with Kratos.
Well, I mean, he discovers that Zeus is his father.
Mm-hmm. So he's been a demigod this whole time.
Yeah. Like, what way to throw a fucking fast one in there? Like, shit.
Well, and it's even, I mean, when you really dive into Kratos, his whole life has been fucked up. The gods chose his brother. Ares chose his brother to fucking play a game that the rest of the gods were playing, basically. And Kratos tries to kill Ares as a child. And his brother gets taken away, and that's Kratos' first failure.
Yeah.
And then throughout the rest of his life, it's failure, 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 failure. And it's, the theme with Kratos is fate. Mm-hmm. Undoing what fate has written for you.
Yeah.
And Kratos is the fucking man that does it. So, I will tell you right now, my initial hour in the game, I was blown away.
Yes.
The controls were a little clunky at first because I was used to the Blades of Chaos. You know, fast, sweeping attacks, constantly moving, roll out of the way, slam attack. And
the axe is up close and personal.
True to form, fighting with an axe is not an easy thing to do, even for a God of War. Mm-hmm. So,
well, let's rewind a little bit.
Go ahead.
Like, just to get a little background onto this game. I mean, we already gave like the actual background on the games that came before it, but let's rewind to, I think it was E3 last year, or was it the year before when they announced this game? I think it was last year.
I think it was 2016.
Okay, well, whenever they announced this game, they announced it by, they had a symphony playing. Mm-hmm. Like, you had no idea what was about to be revealed. And you see the scene, and it's this boy, I can't remember exact details, but either way, like, you see this thing, somebody's talking to this boy. Boy's asking questions. And boy. And boy. And suddenly, like, the boy walks out of this hut into this wintry land, and out of the shadows comes a bearded, older Kratos. And that's when the crowd just fucking lost their mind.
Yep.
And I think we all did here at home, too.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward to present day, and we're playing this shit. And goddamn.
This game is one of it's kind of part of a dying breed, I would say. Now, stupid fucking games like Fortnite and PUBG are all that anybody wants to play.
Yeah.
This, or super open world games that don't really have any substance. It's just, you can walk around this gigantic map and not really do anything. This is a story-driven game. The music composition is fantastic. The score is fucking out of this world.
Yeah.
The voice acting and the mocap are fucking perfect. The writing is fantastic. Not once throughout completing this game did I say, that's kind of shoddy writing. Could have done a little bit better there.
No, it's been fantastic just all the way through.
And games, games like Horizon, which I still unfortunately have not played, but that's one of the games that's heralded for storytelling and world building and setting. And then you have The Last of Us. How can you not talk about The Last of Us as this type of game? So I was really glad to see them return to the franchise, breathe some life back into it, and stick true to what they've done and improve upon what they've done. This is the best God of War game in the franchise.
Easily.
And I've played them from the beginning. So I'll tell you right now, whether you're going to ask me or not, I'm going to give this game a 10 out of 10. And most people are, at least close.
That's my rating. 10. I think I can't remember who said it. They gave it I'm thinking something else, a show that's already I'm thinking of Nate Phillips' review of Infinity War. He gave it 15 out of 15.
All right, fair.
Because 5 extra stars for whatever reason he had. 10 out of 10. This game is... I was about to say this game isn't flawless when I gave it a 10, a perfect score. No, this game is fucking flawless. Like, the gameplay is so smooth. The story is... It keeps you wanting to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons upon tons of extra shit you can do beyond the story.
They do it open world without making it obnoxiously large with just filler shit everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everything that you can do exploring in the pseudo open world environment that you have is relevant to the story. It's relevant to Atreus and Kratos' relationship and them growing together.
Which is a huge part of this story is their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
or lack thereof.
Yeah, I was going to say, it starts off and there is a very large disconnect between them. Not necessarily on Atreus' end, but Kratos.
Well, think about it. He killed his wife and his daughter.
Yeah.
His wife is dead. That's not really a spoiler. We've gathered that from the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
His wife is dead, and now he has this, I'm going to say, 10-year-old kid.
Roughly, yeah.
And he doesn't know what the fuck to do with him. Because the last time he had a kid, he fucking killed her.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and he absolutely adored that child. He was apparently an actual good father to her and his wife. And he had a chance to remain with her in the fields of Elysium.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to turn away from that to save the world.
Yep.
It's really cool how this series has taken the stories of these mythologies, the Greek mythology of the Greek pantheon and all their stories, and then now the Norse mythology and all their stories, and they take stories that we know while still telling other stories that have apparently already happened in this universe.
And they're staying very true to the mythology.
Yeah.
They're not, this isn't Marvel's version of Thor and Asgard.
They also tell, like, that using the gameplay and the actual game, they tell some of these stories that you already know. Like, we've all been told how Atlas, the Titan Atlas, holds up the world. Mm-hmm. Well, they actually told the story of how he got there, essentially. Just adapted.
Because of Kratos.
Yeah, adapted for the fact that Kratos is now involved. Mm-hmm. I guess Kratos was an actual god in Greek mythology, is like the god of chaos, I believe. I might be wrong.
I don't know that one,
but he was a god. He is listed as a god.
Keep talking.
But yeah, good old zombie dust. Love this shit. You had me have a taste of your pineapple Slurpee from 415 North. It was okay.
Kratos was the personification of strength and power in Greek mythology, son of the Titans Pallas and Styx. He was the brother of Nike, the goddess of victory, Baia, and Zealous. And the 4 siblings were the enforcers of Zeus.
Gotcha.
I did not know that. I did not know that Kratos was a real god.
Yeah. I in my Wikipedia journeys years ago, I found that out.
Wikipedia is always right.
Always.
So yeah, I mean, I'm having a hard time not being spoilery.
I know. Do you want to just dive into it?
That's up to you.
Yeah, I'm down. So
I will say this before we get into spoilers. I'm warning you all that are listening to this. If you don't want to hear spoilers, Blaine and I are getting ready to get very spoilerific.
Yeah, and this is a game.
I just beat the game 45 minutes ago, so I have a lot of ideas and theories and things that I want to talk about and have Blaine help me digest. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, accept the fact that Blaine and I have both given it a 10 out of 10 and highly recommend this for anyone to play. I would say that I would buy a PlayStation to play this game.
Yeah.
Not just this game. Obviously, you have The Last of Us Remaster and Horizon. There's a lot of reasons to own a PlayStation. If you need a reason, God of War is the reason. But
hands down, this is one of my favorite video games.
Yeah, of all time.
Yes.
I've very, very few times throughout the game did I have questions that weren't answered.
Yeah.
The only question that I don't have answered is where the fuck did Kratos get that shield from?
I know. Like, it doesn't explain the shield at all.
Where the fuck did that shield come from? It's badass. I love the shield.
Like, where'd the fleece go? Where'd the fleece go? But whatever. Yeah, I'm a pretty big champion of this game not being spoiled to those who don't want it spoiled. You need to go into this game not knowing anything. You need to go into this completely fresh. And I mean, it's been out for a week now, going on 2 weeks. And
we're not the first ones to spoil it.
No, and by the time this is out in audio, who knows when this will be out audio? I don't know, but live on Facebook, May 2nd. This game's fucking fantastic. And please pick it up. Please play it. Play it to completion. It's so fucking good. So now we are entering spoilery territory. We're getting into this game. So if you don't want it spoiled, and I don't want it spoiled for you, please pause this, turn it off, come back once you've played this game, because we're going to really get into it. So...
All right, it's time.
Yes.
So my first question to you is, how do you feel about the first, I'm going to say, 3 hours of the game? Did you feel it started too slow?
I love how it started, because I love heavy hitting things. I love things that really make you feel, play with your emotions, however you want to say it. And this game does that right off the bat. As soon as you hit new game and you select your difficulty,
You start cutting down a tree.
it immediately pans over to Kratos, and the mood is already set. Just looking at him, it starts off very somber, and clear, and you're cutting down a tree. These are specially marked trees, marked by your now deceased wife, Faye. And is there a Fae in the Norse mythology, or is this just some random person they made up?
That I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know a lot about Greek mythology, but Norse is...
I know a lot about Norse mythology, and Fae is not ringing a bell
Okay.
in my mind.
But your wife Faye has died. I don't know what of. And you are left with your son, yours and Faye's son, Atreus. And so now you are gathering the trees for the funeral pyre. And yeah, like I said, it starts off really, really sad and somber, and they do such a good job with the score, with showing Kratos' face, which is it's much older than the last time you saw it, and it's bearded, his beard is just glorious, I might add. And then, but you can see it in his eyes. You can see he's tired. He's worn down.
Is it Faye or Frey?
Faye. 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 Yeah, he's tired and worn down. I mean, who knows how long it's been since we last saw him in God of War 3.
Frey, in Norse, Freyr, is the ruler of peace and fertility, rain and sunshine, and the son of the sea god Njord. So, I do not believe I don't think that's the same person. She is not representing somebody else.
Okay, so she's completely made up as far as we know.
She's a Norse woman married to the god of war Kratos.
Yeah. And which we'll adapt that later on. So you cut down this tree with context. It tells you hit R1. It tells you hit R1. It tells you hit R1. And as you're swinging that axe, you feel it with Kratos. You really feel it with Kratos. He's hitting this, and he's hitting that stage of anger in his grief, and he's taking it out on this tree, and which is really cool because Kratos and anger they're very, very good friends, or worst of enemies. And so to see him use that anger in what I would consider a healthy way, as opposed
he's
to...
not chopping somebody in half. So.
Yeah, he's not... His anger is very well placed, and it's not rage quite yet. So, and then so you chop down the tree, and this game has no difficulty showing you just how strong Kratos is, because he just fucking picks it up and shoulders it, like whatever. And whereas in the past, like you're led to believe he's just a mortal man.
Yep,
it's just really strong. And that was always kind of just like not necessarily like, oh, that's just who he is. It's just like, oh, it's a video game.
Well, that was always the allure for me, the character as a whole, because Kratos is a mortal man defying not just the gods, but fate itself. What has been preordained for him his entire life, he works to fight against that.
Yeah.
And fight against the will of the gods, and because he truly believes that gods are no better than mortals and they should not hold the power that they hold. So, one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to break this game down piece by piece.
No, we don't need to.
Because I feel like we would be doing everybody a disservice. I do have a lot of questions.
We have questions, we have theories, we have things that we just want to talk about, like parts of the game that were special to us, you know?
So, the marked trees, the special trees that she marked, do you think that they had some kind of magic in them, hiding her and her family from Odin?
Oh, definitely.
Well, if you look at the map, the fucking wildwoods where she lives, it's a different color from everything else. It's got that fucking yellow.
Yeah, and then there's a scene where they literally look at the magic barrier that's over this forest, and they spot the weak points where he chopped down the trees, where she specifically told him, which it's basically alluded to that she knew that if they chopped down the trees, they would be forced to, leave together. Which Kratos is like, you can't go until you're ready to Atreus, but it kind of forces him to be ready. It's like, and Kratos even says, it's like, well, whether you're ready or not, we're going.
We don't have a choice.
Yeah, is what he says. And so I think she did that on purpose, to, force them to come together, to force Kratos to be a father, more than just teaching him to survive, teaching him to connect.
Well, and throughout the game, Atreus alludes to the fact that Kratos is gone a lot.
Yeah.
Whether it's hunting or doing whatever Kratos is doing, he's not at home a lot during Atreus' short life thus far.
And even when he is home, he's just cold and rigid towards him.
Well, and it's not even... Atreus mentions a couple times that it's not even that Kratos was, mean to him. It was just the fact that he didn't acknowledge Atreus as really being anything more than someone living in his home.
Yeah. Because
Kratos' mind is always in the past. He's always trying to disconnect from what he's done and escape it, Mm-hmm. And that's great character development because, through the original games, it's nothing but rage and fury.
And revenge. And
now it's, I want to put all that behind me so I can just be at peace.
Yeah, he just wants to be at peace. He wants to live a normal life. Mm-hmm. And yeah. I had to decompress a few times while playing this game because it just hits you with all these moments. And, I happened to be playing this game during the same weekend as Infinity War. So I not only had to decompress from God of War, I had to decompress from Avengers Infinity War, which was just an emotional fucking roller coaster. And so there was a point where, Saturday after I watched Infinity War, where I wanted to talk about Infinity War, but at the same time, I wanted to continue decompressing from that. So what do? I go back to God of War and play that, but that keeps hitting me, so I'm just like, ugh.
Right. So one of the big complaints, and there's not very many, but one of the complaints about this video game is lack of enemy type and lack of boss battles. What's your take on that?
Lack of boss battles I can see, whereas in the past we've had big, epic boss battles. In this game, they have, miniature little fucking giant troll things coming at you.
Well, you have ogres and then trolls.
Yeah.
Trolls are the ones with the big obelisks.
Yeah. And you have those, but you don't get many bosses. As far as all the baddies, the enemies that you face, there's not much variance, but in the past,
different colors.
There's different colors of basically the same base minions, and then you got the shielded ones, and then you got the one with the heavy hitting fucking weapons that just they're the tanks. And but in the past, it's like, oh, you got these fucking demon things coming at you. Oh, here's a centaur. Oh, there's a minotaur. It's like but it's the same exact 3 or 4 different things all the way through.
I don't agree with those criticisms. Though I agree that changing the color of an enemy and it being the same enemy,
it's a reskin. Yeah,
it doesn't. It's not really a good thing. But this is the opening chapter in the second coming of Kratos.
Not to mention, all those reskins were essentially just they're from different realms,
Right.
which there's 9 different realms.
Correct.
And they did a good job of having one enemy type in the game that you don't really come across except for when you're in that realm, in Alfheim.
Oh, the elves?
Yeah, the elves. You don't come across them.
If you explore, you find them
Okay,
a lot.
yeah, I can see that. But as far as like the main story, you come across them maybe one more time.
And then you have the travelers.
The travelers.
The big fucking armored hulks that carry giant bastard swords.
Oh, those things.
Those are
Yeah,
called travelers.
yeah, okay. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Those are cool. Those things suck to fight, but I
If you have the enchantment that can allow you to stop time, they don't suck at fighting.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I have
the time stone.
Yeah, I have the time stone basically. But so that's one of the big criticisms. Another big criticism that it's just kind of unfounded, and it goes along with kind of what I've talked about on Podcastrophe the last 6 months or so, is people shitting on something just because they slightly disagree with the decisions that have been made in it, and then they push that opinion on other people, and that is people complaining about Kratos and Atreus' relationship. So if Kratos and Atreus loved each other dearly, and there was no room for growth or anything, this story wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, yes, it does get a little bit taxing at times for Kratos saying "boy" over and over again.
Boy, I can't do that fucking low.
But yeah, my voice isn't that deep. But
Boy.
but it makes it so special the one time that Kratos says son.
Yeah.
That is why the writing in this game is so stupendous. It's boy, boy, boy the entire game, and at the end of the game, Kratos not only tells Atreus his true name, or the name that was preordained for him, but he also calls him son. So we'll divulge that true name towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Because I want to save all that for the very end.
So right off the bat, starting a new game, you're faced with an option of the difficulty setting, and they give it to you in a different way than normal.
There's 4.
Yeah, there's 4 different, and it's like, give me a story, give me a balanced game, give me a difficult game, give me God of War, which is apparently fucking impossible. Apparently it's harder than Dark Souls. I don't know.
I'm not playing on that difficulty. I'm playing on hard. Or I played it on hard. I'm going to go back and give me God of War a chance.
Which you can't change out of that difficulty. It directly says it. But I started out on balanced, and I played about 2 hours on balanced, and I'm like, you know what? I really just want the story, so I'm not worried about challenging myself. I just want to play through the story and like really take it in, and I don't want to get frustrated. I just want to play.
Oh man, it makes it so much more rewarding though when you finally beat something.
So I switched it to easy, and at times it was still kind of difficult. Maybe I just suck. I don't know.
Get better, Joe.
I know. Yeah, our good pal Joe.
Your good pal Joe.
My good pal Joe, future roommate, went ahead and bought a PS4 and got this game as well. And he can't get past the very first boss, which blows my mind. It blows my mind.
That boss fight can be difficult.
I had 0 difficulty. Like, sure, it kind of dragged on at parts because I could have probably done better, but I had no problem. I never died once.
I did.
Brandon,
but I was playing on hard.
The normal host for the show, Brandon Stone, he told me he died at least once in every stage of the fight. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I died one time.
And that was when I was playing on balanced. I hadn't even switched to easy yet.
You're just good, I guess.
I guess I'm not that good.
But so the first boss that you fight in the game,
extremely cinematic fight.
It's fantastic. is the Norse god Balder, who cannot feel pain. Can't feel anything. But it's such a satisfying fight because you as Kratos just beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah, this is him finally like letting it all go, letting it all out. It's for the first time in the game, which isn't very far into the game.
Mm-mm.
And this whole thing starts with him knocking on the door. He just knocks on Kratos' door like, "Hey,
I know you're in there."
And it just seems like
Go
he's
away.
some he's get off my lawn. He just seems like he's some random drunk guy.
Kratos is like, "Don't fucking make me come out there. Don't fucking call down the thunder."
Yeah,
That's
he
a
warns
Norse
him.
joke for you there. But it sets the tone very well because Kratos is a god in foreign lands. Does Kratos still have his power? You know, you don't know at the beginning of the game.
No, and
other than the super strength and
not to mention like he's a god, like you said, he's a god in a foreign land, and he just wants to be left alone, left in peace with his son, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And Balder comes a knocking.
Which you don't know it's Balder at this point.
Right. You don't figure out it's Balder until later in the game. But one thing I have to point out, because it's much like everything else in this game, but the character design is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of the gods that you meet, all of the little stuff that you find. You know, I've done a lot more. I have actually completed a lot more of the game than you have, even though we've both beaten the game. There's so many stories happening at the same time in this overarching story of Kratos and Atreus. And as much as Kratos goes on his own emotional and character, you know, inner character development, Atreus does the same thing, because in the beginning of the game, he has so much optimism and there's good everywhere and everyone, and you're my dad and I love you, but you're a cold-hearted bastard and I hate you for it, but at the same time I forgive you for it. And then as the game progresses on, you know, that hour and a half, that Atreus is a total fucking dickbag.
Oh, I hated that.
You want to wring his fucking neck. And
oh, yeah.
That is real emotion with an imaginary fucking thing. That is why this game is so good. You know, starting this game out, Atreus does not know that he is the son of a god.
Yeah.
You know, technically a demigod, but...
that makes him a god as well.
Mm-hmm. And he's sick all the time. And they fill you in on that.
It's like, yeah, this kid's got some hardcore asthma.
Yeah, he's fucking sick all the time. And then as the game progresses on, you figure out why he's sick and how Kratos heals his sickness, and the lengths that Kratos has to go to heal that sickness.
It's a weird sickness, because it's amazing how the mind can conjure up like actual physical ailments.
Well, it can happen. It happens in everyday life.
Yeah.
You can literally worry yourself to death.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the inner conflict in Atreus' body, he does not know he's a god. He has these godly powers, and his body is basically killing itself because it cannot decide what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
one really cool moment, one of my favorite moments, was when you're leaving Alfheim. You've already beaten all that. You're rowing in your little boat back to the gate, and you're kind of arguing with your son. And you've already had another really cool moment prior to this that I also want to bring up. But Atreus is talking about like how you're not mourning, how Kratos is not mourning Faye. And Kratos says, "Don't mistake my silence for not caring," or whatever he says. He says something along the lines of that, and it's like, I mourn in my own way. And
don't proceed to tell me how I feel, boy.
Basically, and at that point there was a connection made between them two. Mm-hmm. There was an understanding between the two. Kratos just opened up to his son. Maybe it was still in anger, And maybe it was still
Well, it's not
cold.
even anger. It's just absence of emotion.
Yeah, it was still cold, but regardless, he opened up to him, and Atreus got a peek into that fucking that rage-filled mind of his, that pent-up mind of his.
Well, and the scene that you're talking about, Kratos literally goes inside the light of Alfheim
Yeah.
to refill his little Bifrost crystal with the light so he can travel between realms. And throughout that sequence, you're only gone for like a minute.
Yeah, because you're following the ashes, essentially, the little baggie of ashes of your wife, Kratos' wife, and he's drawn in, and he left.
Almost reach your wife.
Yeah, and he left Atreus outside of the light to watch over, and what seems like a minute has really been hours. Who knows how long actually? And
I'm gonna say that it's like a day.
Wow.
Because there is literally like 70 or 80 fucking corpses of dark elves.
Yeah, outside
when
of the light.
Atreus fucking grabs you and jerks you out of your fucking serenity. Because during that sequence, Kratos is almost at peace. He's almost reunited with his wife again. And fucking Atreus jerks him out of there, and Kratos is fucking pissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Yeah, and then you just look around and it's just nothing but bodies.
And they're
Nothing
piled up. They're
They're
piled up.
and it's just like, holy shit, you've been considering this kid weak. And,
Because for the most part, he has been.
yeah, but and just to see that he did all of that by himself.
And it still did not impress Kratos.
Yeah, yeah,
Kratos was, it seemed like he was legitimately worried for a split second, and then he went right back to being pissed off because he was almost reunited with his wife.
yeah.
And Atreus's dialogue sequence there is fantastic. You left me.
Which that's one of the things that he's basically revisiting these moments when Atreus is talking to his mother. And you're hearing Atreus talk about Kratos. Like, he's never here. He's always off doing something. He doesn't care. He's never here. He's never here. And then you go out and he's like, you left. It's like, you didn't come back. It's like, you weren't here.
So I went, I got you. I pulled you out. I did that. And Kratos is just fucking mad.
But at the same time, he's just like, shit. Because now he knows how his son has felt this whole time. And once again, that's a connection made, but it's not directly between them.
Well, and there's the good.
I think. Hold on. I think that's one of the things that prompted them to connect shortly after on the boat.
Yes.
Directly. As you were saying.
The whole sequence in Alfheim is fantastic. You're doing what you need to do just so you can travel to where you need to spread your wife's ashes, her final request. And the whole time you're going through Alfheim, you're killing dark elves and you're saving light elves. And then at the end of it all, you kill the dark elf leader, and the light elves flood this fucking palace sanctuary. And with his dying breath, the dark elf leader tells Atreus that you guys fought the wrong people.
Whoa.
You didn't hear that?
No, I didn't hear that. And I had subtitles turned on.
Yeah, you fought the wrong people. The dark elf leader was saying that the light elves were actually the bad people, and that they were suppressing his people.
Does that get touched on ever again? Oh, really? So in the side stuff it does?
Yep.
Okay.
So Atreus asks Kratos, did we really do the right thing? And Kratos basically just brushes it off. He says, we did what we had to do.
Yeah. I mean, they had a goal. They accomplished that goal, and it doesn't matter who. They weren't there to fight a war. They were there to get what they needed and to go.
Yep.
And that was just part of that. All that shit was just in their way.
Yep.
So
So the theme of fate definitely continues in this story. You know, Phaedos.
That's like the third time you've said his name wrong.
God damn it. It's like Benedict Cumbersnatch all over again. But Kratos, in the original games, killed the Sisters of Fate.
Yeah.
All three of them. He fucking annihilated them.
God of War 2.
Mm-hmm. And so he's done everything in his power to forge his own path. And come to find out in this game, his path is still being written for him.
Yeah.
And we'll touch a little bit on that later. But you gain a companion in the game, which is one of the weirder companions I've ever had in video games. It's a severed head of a god named Mimir.
I love Mimir.
At first, I was like...
Talk head.
At first, I was like,
Head.
Are we really gonna fucking carry around Mimir's severed, one-eyed fucking head? But we did.
It was awesome.
And it was awesome.
And he's the one that suggested it, too, because he was trapped. He was trapped in the gateway.
No, Odin trapped him in a tree.
Yeah, he trapped him in a tree, which is in the gateway.
No,
it's facing towards
the gateway.
You're right. And he's just like, cut my head off and, take me to someone who can reanimate it. Hopefully it works.
And I'll get you where you...
he's just like, hopefully it works.
Yeah, well, because at that point, he's been trapped in that tree for 100 years.
He's like, I don't give a fuck either way. I got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I can't die while I'm in this tree, and Odin won't kill me. So, most of the time in modern media, Odin and the Norse gods are portrayed in this, warrior culture that's for the greater good, and they're more on the good side of things.
Yeah.
And in this game, you come to find out that they're just a bunch of fucking dickbags, just like
the Greek
Pantheon. And I like how they separated the Norse gods in this game into two separate entities.
The Aesir and
the Aesir, the Vanir. And they, especially once you gain Mimir, he touches on that so much.
Yes.
He offers so much to the story. Anywhere you're going anywhere, or anytime you're going anywhere, or
if you're traveling by boat, he'll tell random stories.
Or if you're on one of the branches of the World Tree.
Yes.
Yggdrasil.
Yes. He was a nice addition because Greek mythology is much more popular and just teaching and learning. People know a lot more about it. Not as many people know Norse mythology, so
there's a reason for that.
Paganism.
It's not just paganism. It's a lot of the tenets of Christianity are built upon Norse mythology. Why do you think we have Christmas? It's Yule. It's
Yes.
the pagan holiday of Yule.
But yeah, so not as many people know Norse mythologies, including I. The most Norse mythology I know is from watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe Thor.
I geeked the fuck out in this game because they did so... I mean, the World Serpent? Come on.
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
Jormungandr? I mean, come on. They nailed it. They nailed everything.
Yes. And so for me, someone who doesn't know much Norse mythology, it was really cool having Mimir there telling all these stories. And and he's telling them like he's just some guy at a bar telling you these stories that just happened the other day. It's like, oh yeah, Thor fucking did this shit. Oh, that Thor. What an asshole. But so it's just cool having that there. And to learn about some of these stories, and because I've always known all these Greek stories and all these, but never Norse. And so I've always had an interest in Norse mythology, but I never got around to it.
The more you dig into Norse mythology, the more you'll like it, I feel like, because there's so much in pop culture and our day-to-day life that are influenced by Norse mythology that we don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this game will definitely help shed the light on a lot of it. The Leviathan axe, the game the weapon that you have for the majority of the game, you can call it back to you by holding out your hand. What else do we know does that?
So
Mjolnir?
Mjolnir, yeah.
What else do we know when you hold your hand out? It returns to you. You know, Thor, Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Come to find out, some more companions that you have in the game, Brock and Sindri, goofy-ass little fucking dwarves.
Yeah, they
They
were interesting.
They turned out to be the ones that made Mjolnir and made the Leviathan axe that you now fight minions with for your wife.
Mm-hmm.
That was your wife's axe. That's not your axe.
Yeah, and
You're just carrying it.
It was. I can't remember if he said it was given to him or he just got it upon death.
She gave it to him.
Okay.
That was one of her wishes in death, was for him to have that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant by upon death. Yeah, the Brock and Sindri, they were interesting characters. I mean, Brock, he's like the rough around the edges, like he's cussing. Like
He's heritaged out.
he's heritage as fuck. He's Norse heritage as fuck.
Yes, he is.
And Sindri, however, interesting.
Sindri's very dainty, very
He was definitely the comic relief besides Mimir.
definitely for a lot of it. Brock offered a lot too, just because of his jargon.
Mm-hmm.
But
and Sindri, he was more
he's afraid
he was more
of
the
anything,
goofy,
the
goofy comic relief.
afraid of anything dirty. Very, there's a sequence of dialogue, and I can't remember if it's in the main game or if you actually have to do all of their little side quests to get it. But he talks about figuring out that there's all these little tiny critters that live on your body, and if you rub something on yourself, it'll kill all the tiny little critters. He's talking about bacteria, And anytime there's something biological, he's like dry heaving,
Yes.
And then it turns out that Mimir and Brock and Sindri all know each other. I like that they gave the dwarfs a lot of magic without them having a lot of magic. Like, you don't see it because they can appear invisible to anybody.
Mm-hmm. It's their ability to walk in the realm between realms. Mm-hmm. They can just go in and out of it.
Yes.
One thing that this game had story-wise was something I had no idea about until this game, which was the entity known as Tyr.
The Norse god of war.
Yeah.
So Kratos' mirror image.
Yeah, but a different version of it.
That's why I said mirror image.
Yeah, like he's more of a peaceful god of war.
Mm-hmm.
He championed peace rather than war. But it's cool because you're learning about this person that's no longer here. This god that he was the god of war, and you were the god of war, and it's just like, whoa, that's got to be weird for them to think.
Well,
about.
and they don't like literally. Tyr's tenets were war, law, and justice. That's what Tyr was all about, and in true Norse mythology, and they don't touch on it in this game, but Tyr, in his youth, boasted that he could put his hand inside Fenrir's mouth without Fenrir biting it off, and Fenrir bit that motherfucker off. So what did Tyr do with his left hand that's now not there? He fucking mounted a iron gauntlet in the shape of a wolf's head on where his fist is supposed to be. That's just a badass dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hand's gone. I'm going to have something more badass. But throughout the game, you figure out more and more that Tyr, more so than anyone, has traveled to not just all of the 9 realms,
but all of Midgard.
All of Midgard. So he's traveled to Greece. He's traveled to Egypt. He's traveled to, the British Isles, Ireland. He goes fucking deep into it. And at one point, you're in Tyr's vault, and you find a vase that has a depiction of Kratos all raged out with the blades of chaos.
Yeah.
And Kratos doesn't let Atreus see it, because he does not throughout this game. He does not want Atreus to know who he was because he's ashamed of it.
Even after he reveals who he was and what Atreus is.
That moment when you're riding up the elevator after Kratos tells Atreus, or, Atreus knows that he's a god at that point. When you're riding up the elevator out of Tyr's vault and they share the wine together.
Yeah.
That was such a good fucking moment.
Yeah, because you see a little...
You actually see Kratos smile.
You see him enjoying himself. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, it's not even that he's enjoying himself. He's enjoying the fact that Atreus is enjoying himself. Atreus is happy in that moment, so Kratos is happy.
Also, Kratos is getting a taste of his former life.
Yep.
A good part of his former life. I mean, sure, alcohol, whatever.
Well, anytime throughout the game that Kratos talks about Sparta, he has a lighter tone. He's happy knowing what he is and where he comes from. Come to find out, that's where Atreus got his name from to begin with, was a soldier that Kratos formerly fought with. Atreus of Sparta. So that was just such a good moment. That's one of my favorite moments of the game. And it just so happens to involve Tyr. Mimir is the guide. Tyr is the one that has laid the foundation for Mimir to guide Kratos and Atreus. So
yeah, it's cool all these things that Tyr did to...
Did you find all the tapestries?
No, I don't think I found them all, but I found a lot of them, and any one that I've came across in the story. And Tyr is he did so many things just to unite everybody and keep peace, and he did so many things under Odin's nose, because
he was always biting his thumb at Odin, because he didn't want Odin running the show, because Odin is a psychopath. One little bit of dialogue I want to point out. While you're in Tyr's vault and you find the room with all the Egyptian stuff,
yeah,
Atreus asks Mimir about that place, and Mimir says it's really far away. Atreus' first response, because he now knows that he's a god, do they have gods there? And Mimir says, yes, too many. He says it differently than that, but that's what he means, that there's too many gods in Egypt. And Atreus' response is, are they good gods? And Mimir kind of brushes off the question, because Atreus at that moment envisions himself and Kratos as good gods, but are they really?
Kratos' opinion is there are no good gods.
Correct. There are no good gods, but we have to be better than everyone else.
Yeah. The only good god Kratos ever truly knew and part of his past life was Athena, but even she had an agenda.
Yeah, she was a bitch.
She used him she was the only person, or the only god that resembled anything close to good. And she, despite having an agenda, it was, I guess, for good reasons, but regardless, she used him instead of letting him in on it.
Right. Yeah, Athena makes an appearance in this game.
Yes, and
are you disappointed like I am that there wasn't more of that?
I wanted more. I wanted more of his past life showing up.
I thought there was enough of his past life as a whole.
I wanted more.
I would have liked to have seen.
I wanted him dealing with his demons.
Well, like when Kratos is faced with a difficult decision, fucking Athena pop up, boom, and she actually speak, and not just stand there and smile. And then we also get a Zeus cameo.
We
twice.
Do. Yeah, and Mimir's like, "Who's that?"
Because Mimir can see it.
Yeah. And
at first you think Atreus can't see it. And then come to find out he has seen everything.
I love that moment when Mimir realizes, oh, Kratos, he's from Greece. He's like, I thought you were from Greece. I thought you were Greek. The Greek pantheon, they were assholes.
Bunch of assholes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then once Mimir figures out that you're the son of Zeus, he actually calls you by your name. You're the bloody ghost of Sparta.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's crazy that shit like
They
traveled.
all fucking know each other.
Yeah.
Fucking having god orgies and shit.
God orgies.
Yeah.
Love it.
But how did you feel about Jormungandr, the world serpent?
It was cool.
Did you like how to progress in the story you had to lower the water level in the lake?
Yeah.
So moving on in the story.
Yeah, moving on. Oh, but we kind of started touching on something in terms of the past coming back. Do we want to bring that up again? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So he brings up Athena popping up. She pops up because he's traveling back to his home, like his house.
Oh yeah,
to
we
retrieve
definitely need
something.
to talk about this because he has to go to Helheim, the Norse, basically underworld.
But it's cold.
Well, when you die, when you die in Norse mythology, you either die in glorious battle and go to Valhalla, escorted by the Valkyries, or you die of old age, or if I'm a criminal or if I stab Blaine to death without him knowing I'm technically a criminal, you go to Helheim, and it's just a fucking frozen wasteland of nothing. Fire can literally not exist there. So,
Except for at God's fire.
except a god's fire, so Kratos has to go back home to retrieve the...
Blades of Chaos.
God, they look good, too.
Yeah, they do.
By the end of the game, they're all fucking shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Because you upgrade them so many times. But when he grabs them out from under the floorboard the first time...
Yeah. Which is... It's we've seen so many different iterations of the Blades of Chaos since the first game because they keep getting changed. Oh, these are the Blades of Athena. Oh, these are the Blades of Exile. Because it's a trend in those original games where you start a new game, you start off that first little part where you have your full power, and then except for the first game, I guess, but you start off full power and 2 and 3, and then something happens and you lose all your powers.
Yep.
Get some new blades, and then you got to start those all over. But yeah, these are like the actual original Blades of Chaos that apparently never left you. But yeah, but the thing is, the playstyle is different now. So how did you feel about the Blades of Chaos with the new playstyle?
I didn't really notice that big of a difference.
Like obviously it's more up close and personal. You're not seeing all the twirling and flames spinning around.
Well, you can.
You can, but it's not like it's not like an.
It depends on how you spec.
Yeah.
Because that's the skills that I chose and the combos that I used. I was pretty much twirling and slamming all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't. I think I have the Hyperion as my runic for the runic heavy for the Blades of Chaos. Yeah, like man, for all those little special moves, the runes that you can put into the Blades of Chaos, like they brought back old moves, powerful ass fucking moves. I loved having it back. I kind of had an assumption that they would make an appearance in this game at some point, and so that being said, like as soon as they're like no fire can exist there, I was like, oh shit, and he's like, I'm gonna go home and get something.
That means I must return home.
Oh my, oh fuck.
Well, at the beginning of the game, when Baldur shows up, Kratos says, "Get under the floor."
You told me not to go there.
You told me never to go there because he didn't want Atreus to find the Blades of Chaos. And the scene where Kratos is basically reuniting with one of the biggest things that he wants to forget with the Blades of Chaos, and he's wrapping the chains around his arms. You can literally see the pain in his eyes. He remembers what it feels like to have those burned to his flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's doing it willingly. Just a little bit at a time. Just one wrap, real slow.
Well, you remember at the very beginning of the game, he still has the wraps.
Mm-hmm.
He still has the wraps around his wrists
Yeah, because
and forearms.
he pretty much permanently has third-degree fucking burns.
Yeah, but he's got those wraps still. Like, he's healed, but I mean, the scars are still there.
Mm-hmm.
But he still has those wraps. I feel like that's like the only reminder he allows himself to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was such.
When he doesn't want Atreus to see it.
Yeah,
That's part of it.
I guarantee it. And he uses part of it to like tie something together. But it's also always been such an iconic part of his look. Is those wraps.
Mm-hmm.
And so you eventually get to a point where he just takes them off and lets them fly away, and you see the scars
Yep, you see the chains.
burnt in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's such a cool moment picking those blades up and then stepping out of your house to enemies everywhere.
Hordes and hordes of Hellwalkers.
Fucking hordes. You're right, just fucking hordes. And you're just like, yep, it's time. And like you just go to town with these blades of chaos and
let the anger flow through
and you are home.
Literally.
You're literally home, both physically in the game and in your mind. Like, this is familiar.
Mm-hmm.
You're using something that's been such an iconic part of the series, is these chained blades. Whether you're using the blades of chaos or not, there is some form of the blades of chaos or the blades of Hades, something like that, where it's a chained weapon, and it's just swinging the chain. I'm swinging the chain. Good old Kung Pao reference there.
God, I hate you.
My name is Betty.
So,
Boy.
God.
I love the boy compilations and the boy memes.
I don't, because it's taking away from this fantastic fucking video game.
My favorite one was the seagull.
Oh, the one that I shared?
I shared it too. It's like, I'm bored. Wonder what my son's doing. Did he just blink? Boy! I love how it's like, did he just do something? Like, which is basically how Kratos says. It's like, what are you doing, boy? Boy.
Get over here, boy.
Read this, boy.
I love that Kratos doesn't fucking put forth... He's put forth the effort to learn to speak the native tongue, but he doesn't fucking learn to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he doesn't really need to in the woods.
No.
He just wants to be by himself.
But now he's forced to go out and explore.
And if he didn't have Atreus, he'd be fucking helpless.
Mm-hmm. Which, luckily, Atreus was born in that land. He knows it.
Well, and
his mother taught him.
And there's
so
a couple
much.
other reasons that he knows all this stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to touch on that momentarily, I feel like.
Uh-huh. Are we getting close to the end here?
I feel like we are.
All right. So, at some point, that he gets a rune. He gets the black rune or whatever, right? And instead of it like disappears and then appears all over his body.
Mm-hmm. Fucking Atreus gets tatted up.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of jealous because I'd like to Norse tattoo myself that way.
Wait, does that stick with him?
Yeah, he's got him for the rest of the game.
Really? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, when he gets the black rune and then they glow yellow all over his body.
That's all I remember seeing.
They stick with him for the rest of the game. Like, he literally, his knock fingers for his bow are solid black.
Huh.
It's not a glove. They're solid black.
Yeah.
He's got fucking tats going up his neck.
I noticed the tats on his neck.
Yeah.
I thought they were just already there.
No, they go pretty much everywhere other than his face. So, he gets a little bit of everything. He gets all ruined up.
Interesting. So, you find something out post-game.
Kratos is actually Zeus.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Wrong. Fake news. No, you find something out about Atreus because you finally reach Jotunheim. Your goal is to get to the land of the giants because Atreus's mother's dying wish was to have her ashes spread off the highest peak in all of the realms.
And well, we never touched on this all the way back at the beginning.
Yeah.
So rewind. Kratos' wife dies. Her dying wish is to have her ashes spread from the peak of the tallest mountain. So Kratos scans the horizon. Oh, we live right next to a mountain. That's the tallest peak in Midgard, where they're at. So they scale the mountain. They meet Mimir for the first time. Mimir says, "Oh no, laddie. That's the tallest peak." And he points to a fucking gate that opens up to Jotunheim, the realm of the giants, which has been closed off for over 100 years.
Disappeared. All the giants are gone from Midgard.
The gate to travel there is literally gone because they were escaping Odin and Thor because Thor was killing everyone. So
That
you
asshole.
finally make it to Jotunheim, the tallest peak in all of the realms. Kratos has this really powerful moment where he stands on that peak and lets the wrappings fall off, and we touched on that. You see the chains burned into his skin. But right before that, Atreus touches a wall where there's all of these tapestries and statues of giants, but Atreus notices immediately that the place is devoid of life.
Yeah.
And you don't really see why. He touches this wall, and it lights up with runes and exposes carvings in the walls, and they're all carvings of Atreus and Kratos.
Their journey. Literally the entire journey that they just took.
Piece by piece, every bit of it. And the final piece of the wall carvings that Atreus does not see is Kratos on his back. And it appears that he's dead.
I don't like that.
I don't like that
I
either.
don't like that. That's like killing Wolverine.
It's not the first time Kratos has died.
No, but I feel like that depicts his final time.
Kratos would go to Valhalla, I feel like.
Yeah. I
So,
can see that. I
anyway.
see this being a trilogy, and by the end of the trilogy, it'll be the end of Kratos, and then we move on to Atreus.
I don't see us moving on to Atreus.
Really?
I actually, legitimately, I see this tapestry or carving or prediction, whatever you want to call it. I see that as, and you have to remember, right before you get to Jotunheim, when you kill Baldur, we finally kill Baldur. I'm not going to spoil that other than the fact that you kill him.
The cycle must end.
The cycle must end of
Which is-
sons killing their fathers.
Which is something that Zeus says to Kratos.
Yep.
But it's on the opposite end of it, really, because Kratos is trying to. Zeus killed his father. Kratos is trying to kill his father, which is Zeus. Zeus is like, nah, cycle must end. This time, it's Kratos saying it to a father or a son and a mother.
Yep.
And so you kill Baldur.
And then on the boat ride back to finally travel to Jotunheim, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. On the boat ride back to Tyr's temple, or to the travel temple, to go to Jotunheim finally, Kratos... Oh, they're talking about the sacrifice that parents make for their children.
Yeah.
That's foreshadowing right there. That's what this scene is depicting. Because Freya was willing to sacrifice her life so that Baldur could be happy. Atreus then asks Kratos on the boat ride, would you die basically for me? And Kratos says yes, if it meant that you would live. So this conversation, this image on the wall in Jotunheim, is setting up Kratos in the final game sacrificing himself. So Atreus, who we learn is actually named.
Well, he looks on the wall and it has a different name for him.
And he says, Father, why do all of these pictures say that my name is Loki?
And you find out that was that was the name his mother wanted for him.
Because his mother was actually a giant from Jotunheim. and she wanted her ashes spread from the highest peak in all of the realms because it was in Jotunheim, the land of her people.
Mm-hmm. And she also knew that they would come across that.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be more to it. There has to be more to it.
But I'm saying Kratos sacrifices himself so Loki can live. Kratos is now removed from Norse mythology. Loki starts doing all the mischief stuff. Because Loki is the god of mischief.
Yes.
Bam.
But he's not very mischievous in this game.
Yet.
You're right. I mean, as soon as he finds out he's a god, he becomes super cocky, super arrogant. He's like, we are gods. Like, we can do whatever we want.
He becomes a total fucking dickbag.
Oh, yeah, dude. I fucking hated it. And then...
when he stabbed fucking Modi in the neck, I was so pissed because I wanted to kill him as Kratos because Modi's a little bitch.
Yeah, he is.
That I do want to. I want to touch a little bit. Rewind. People complaining about the lack of boss fights, though I agree they are a little bit few. When you have the Baldur boss fights, you fight Baldur 4 fucking times.
3. I fought him 3 times.
4 times. Because it goes House right before Helheim.
Helheim the second time. Because you go to Helheim the first time to get the bridge guardian's heart, and then to save Atreus, and then the next time you go to Helheim is to, I can't remember why you're going there, but you fight Baldur right before that.
Well, okay, so the 4th time that I'm thinking of is just one boss fight split into 2 parts.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I thought you were getting at.
Yeah, three times, 4 times if you count a 2-parter. But then you also fight Magni and Modi, 2 sons of Thor. That's one of the most entertaining boss fights I've had in a video game in a long time. You fight a fucking dragon, which is fantastic. Oh, you know what I was thinking of? Oh, never mind. It's still 3. But then you have... what's the other one?
I mean, you technically have some boss fights in the side quest stuff.
Oh, that's the Valkyries. So, come to find out, and I haven't finished this part. I've got about halfway. All the Valkyries have been corrupted and contained in prisons of Odin. Odin's prisons. So, a side mission that you can do is go hunt down and kill all the Valkyries, and they're fucking hard.
Yeah, they are.
And I'm playing on hard.
So they're even harder.
They're even fucking harder. So
being on easy, it was still difficult.
You're right.
Like the first one, the initial Valkyrie posed quite a threat to me, and then since then, all I've done is every time I find one, I'll go in, I'll fight it until I die, and then I'll be like, I'll restart from checkpoint. I'll respawn essentially, looking directly at it. I'm like, nope. I walk out.
Well, I like at the end of the game, all of their locations are
they're
displayed on the map, so you can just go find them. You don't have to hunt for them.
And a lot of them you can quick travel to with the gates.
As long as you've been there.
Yes.
As long as you've exposed the hidden chamber.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did not, this entire game, I did not expect Kratos' wife to be a giant. You know, that was hidden from him.
Mm-hmm.
He utters the phrase, "I was not the only parent with secrets."
Yeah.
I cannot say enough about this game. The only nagging question that I have is, where the fuck did Kratos get this shield?
Yeah, it's just there. He just has it, you know.
Episode title: where the fuck did I get this shield? Where the hell does shield come from? But I really hope that we get some sequels, at least one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, if you did another game like this and doubled the size,
well, are we gonna spoil the ending, the resting ending?
I was going to do that after I talked for a minute.
Oh,
because this is good theory here. You take what Horizon and Tomb Raider and The Last of Us and all these games have done with the fantastic stories and pseudo open world. Don't double the size of the world, double the size of the story.
Yes.
For part 2, and you could almost make part 2 the end. You wouldn't need to do another video game. And they already have the engine, and we're in a tough place because we don't know what's going on with PS5, and you know, when I recorded Game Addicts with Brandon this past weekend, there's rumors now that Microsoft is going to get into the next generation console race, even after they've said that the X is their last console for a little bit. They want to actually make some of their capital back from that investment. And now it's like, do you go ahead and crank another game out? Because Santa Monica Studios is who does this, right?
Yes.
Okay, Santa Monica Studios has pretty much done nothing but God of War that's notable.
Yeah.
Do you go ahead and ride this train, for lack of a better term, and finish Kratos' story and then see where we go from there on the next generation consoles? Or do you give it a full 3-year development cycle and make people wait again? Personally, I would rather them not rush one out, but, you know, a year and a half down the road, I would like to see another God of War. Whether that's on PlayStation 5 coming out next holiday season, or the tail end of PlayStation 4, I would like to see another one sooner rather than later, because they already have the engine, they already have the world built, you know, they already have the map done. Take that same map and fill it with more shit, you know. Give us more shit in the other realms, you know.
Yeah,
there's 2 realms that we could not travel to in this game, Asgard and Svartalheim, I think is how you say it, or Svartheim, something.
Vanaheim.
Oh, so there's 3 that we can't go to.
I feel like there's another, but Vanaheim's another one.
Well, in the game, you can go to...
You're in Midgard. Jotunheim, Helheim, Niflheim.
Yep, you can go there.
Mustafar.
Muspelheim.
And then Alfheim.
7. So there's 2 more. Asgard and Svartalheim, I think is how you say it.
What about Vanaheim? Vanaheim's closed off.
That was 9, though. Didn't we count 9?
Unless Midgard's not a fucking realm. I don't know. But it is.
Yeah, fuck, I don't know.
But yeah, you can't go to Vanaheim.
I think no matter what, we'll never go there. Because it's completely closed. It is completely closed off.
Yeah.
Because of the fucking war between the Aesir and the Vanir.
Before we really start closing this out, there's one thing. I love the details they put into this game. Like, if you actually go to the journal, the codex, it's literally journal entries from Atreus.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the minds of it's the thoughts of a boy
on
all these things you're experiencing or running into.
Where did my dad get this shield?
But I noticed one time, like when it says journal entry, I just happened to have the camera turned around, and he was actually like,
he's actually writing it.
You literally see him. No, it was after I found a rune and told him to read it or something. Boy, read. And he reads it, and then you turn around, and he's like literally he's not talking. He's just in his own world writing in this journal. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as he puts it up, and boy, it says codex entry or journal entry. Yep. It's like, holy shit, that little thing is so cool.
Yeah, their attention to detail is flawless. You can't fault Santa Monica Studios for anything that they've done with this game, because they haven't done anything bad. Even with the lack of enemy variety, There's only one enemy type that I really fucking could not stand. That was the nightmares.
They weren't bad.
They're just fucking stupid.
You can use them as a weapon.
Yeah, but even then, I would just spear them with the Chaos Blades and fucking ignite. Spear and fucking ignite, or throw
that was
my
cool.
axe
You
at
could
him.
just swing the blade around and let it like build up fire.
Or you could jettison it like Scorpion and then ignite your chain all the way down.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for checking out our live stream, Andy. But yeah, the Nightmares and the Revenants are really the only two that I had a problem with, because if you didn't have Atreus, you couldn't fight those Revenants.
Oh no, not at all, because you have to shoot them with the arrow and then fight them.
Yep.
Yeah, they sucked.
So, closing thoughts for me, 10 out of 10. Play this fucking game.
Yeah.
Get involved in the story. Support games like this, because if we don't, we're only going to have games like Fortnite and fucking PUBG and Overwatch. And that's not video games. That is combat simulators, and that's not what I want.
There's no story. There's no
reason to play it.
No, I mean okay, cool. You have fun doing it with your friends and shit, but like I want content. I'm sorry. I got to have content to play. Monster Hunter, it's strictly there's not much story there, but like you're giving me content at least. But like battle royale style games and multiplayer only games, it's just
Well, okay. Let me ask you this: Do you feel like we're gonna get DLC for this game?
No, it's for God of War.
Mm-hmm.
They already announced they're not doing any.
They're not doing any.
They're not doing any. And for those who happen to see an image of Jason Momoa playing Kratos for a God of War Netflix series, don't believe it.
Yeah, that's.
It'd be awesome.
I
think it'd be awesome, but
I thought it was awesome when he was going to be Conan the Barbarian too, and not.
But to be fair, he didn't have a beard, so
that doesn't matter. Conan didn't have a beard. But there's one little thing we want to touch on. We'll touch on that, and then I'll give you your opportunity to give your closing thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So your final task in the game is to return to your home.
Yes.
All the way back where you started the game, where you went to retrieve the Blades of Chaos. It's time to go home and rest. Kratos sits down on the edge of his bed, throws the axe on the floor. He just lays down with Mimir still attached to his fucking...
like just buried in bed.
Yep. He says, "Sleep, boy."
And Atreus is like, "No problem, bro."
I'm tired. I feel like it's been years since we've been home. And Kratos lays down, immediately falls asleep. And they awaken to the crackle of thunder and lightning. It's literally punching through their home.
Yeah.
And Kratos runs outside with Atreus shortly behind him with his bow and Kratos' axe in hand. And there's an eagle fly in. Is it an eagle? I can't remember. I just watched this and I can't remember. I'm thinking of Freya is what I'm thinking of.
Nice pause.
Yeah. My brain was trying to work. But a figure is standing outside of Kratos and Atreus' home. It's a very large, cloaked figure, thunder and lightning surrounding them. And Kratos yells, "Who are you?" And the figure just takes its left hand, pushes back the cloak, and you see Mjolnir.
It's like total gunslinger move right there. He's just like, "Ha, there's my pistol."
I got you, bro.
But yeah, and
he
has that kind of pose to him as well. Like, yeah, I'm about to draw.
I'm about to fuck you up.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
I want to see the axe and Mjolnir go toe to toe.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. Good old meow meow.
I fucking hate you.
Oh.
Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts, dude. I adore this game. This game is everything I wanted it to be right from like my first couple hours.
It's worth another playthrough.
Honestly, yeah, because I want to experience all that emotion again. Like from my first initial hours, just sitting here with my headphones on, just completely immersed in it. Like it was to the final throes of me playing this game Sunday night.
The final boy,
the final sun. That hit.
Yeah, it was such a satisfying moment.
It was, and to see that was like the culmination of their development.
Well, because you waited the whole game, like, and I'm sure you did. Maybe not in the same way, but I'm a parent, so throughout the game, through all these emotional moments, I was like, "Fucking hug him, acknowledge him for what he's accomplished," and Kratos never did. You know, one thing that we didn't point out. After any battle in the game, there's always dialogue immediately when all the enemies are killed. And it's Atreus looking for validation from his father.
How did I do?
How did I do? Or Kratos, towards the end of the game, starts to say, that was a tough fight. And then Atreus doesn't say anything, much like when...
But at the beginning, he's like, how did I do? And he's like...
Needs improvement.
Needs improvement. Again. In one of the trailers, he goes... They go fighting through armies and armies, and then at the very end of the trailer, he looks at Kratos and he goes, "Again." Yeah, and one thing I after that moment in Alfheim where they kind of connect for the first time, truly, the dynamic definitely changes throughout. Like you're talking to him more rather than being cold.
Yep. Well, and you have to remember, Kratos is a Spartan. Yeah. What did Spartans do with children that had disabilities or that they deemed unworthy?
Threw him over a fucking cliff.
They threw him off a fucking cliff. Kratos survived and grew up in that environment. He was bred for war. He was a machine. And it's not easy to be a parent.
Nope.
So
closing thoughts, 10 out of 10. I fucking love this game. You should too. Play this.
We need more games like
great.
this.
We do. The age of the storytelling game is hopefully not over.
I think this sets the precedent that we need these games to stick around.
Between this and Horizon, yeah.
Well, look at The Last of Us. The Last of Us is up there too. You need to.
I've been told that many times.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Just haven't. It's not that I don't want to. I just haven't. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and end this. So, Game Addicts people, thank you for listening to us bullshit. You can check us out on the Journey into Comics feed, or you can check us out on the Podcastrophe Facebook page. Every Wednesday around 5:30, we will be live and in color. But other than that, if you're just audio listener, check us out on the Journey into Comics feed on all the platforms like Podbean and iTunes and Spotify every Thursday in audio form. Do we need to plug the Game Addict stuff?
I don't think so.
If you're here, you're already here. That's awesome. Thank you for listening. I'm how about that? I'm Tyler.
He's Tyler and I'm Dick.
And
make every day a big dick day.
Bye, guys.
Woke up this morning with my dick in my hand. Girl is to the right of me, just like our plan. It's gonna be a big dick day.